Okay, so here we are in part 11 of the series, and here's yet another mouse that seemed to have managed to get into the house. And this mouse was a particularly quiet one. And another interesting thing about this mouse is you'll actually notice that it's actually sniffing quite a lot, which is actually similar to paranoid mouse. And see there is, trying to smell all the different parts. So what you'd think from seeing that is that somehow this is another clever mouse that actually cares about its safety. So it's going to sort of smell everything to try and work out if it's a trap. But as you'll find out, all that sniffing that it's doing, it seems it's just instinct. But here it comes again after going around. So still doing the usual checking that mice like to do. And so it's obviously hunting around, seeing if it can find anything. See, so now it's smelling the sensor. Sorry, that end is the transmitter. And so now it's going around, obviously trying to look for food. And so now, finally, it goes around those barriers that I've set up. And now it's inside. But see, as you notice, it's still sniffing everything. So you think that somehow this mouse is like, is like a really safe mouse that can work out that it's a trap. But it just seems to me that all this sniffing is just, I don't know, really, I think it's just looking for food, really. Because as you find out, all that sniffing doesn't make any difference. And the other thing you'll notice now is that it's actually in the sensor, and the trap actually triggered. And this is the interesting thing, is that the servo actually malfunctioned here. And I didn't even know this had happened, because at this moment in time, I'm actually outside somewhere. I think I'm walking somewhere. So all this that's happening here, I've got no idea what's going on. And the thing that happened is that when I came back, the trap had already been triggered. So I thought, okay, the trap, just mouse went in, it just dropped it on it. But I never even realized that it had malfunctioned until I actually watched the video afterwards. And you see what's happened, that the string on the right has sagged down a bit. And that's because sometimes this servo is a bit dodgy because the power supply isn't good enough. And the other thing I was going to mention is that you notice the mouse has frozen, because this is actually real time. So as you can see, the mouse is doing the odd sniff. And I think its tail moves occasionally. Or that could just be the bad quality of the video. And what I'm trying to show here is that this is actually what mice are like. So if a mouse hears a sound, it will turn to where it heard the sound, and then it will freeze and just watch to see what happens. And if there's no movement, it will stay and freeze for a certain amount of time. And I think you'll find the time that this mouse is frozen for, this is actually the length that the average length that a mouse is programmed to freeze for. And that it's only when it doesn't smell anything or detect anything, because you see it's still sniffing there, trying to see if it can smell something out there, just because it heard that little sound. But the thing about it is that after all this, you might think that it's doing all this because it's somehow clever. But in reality, this is just how mice are programmed. So here it goes back into the trap to try and get to that dodgy bait again, and captured. So as you see, even though the servo had malfunctioned, here's an interesting thing, which I think is why the servo worked again, because basically what I've done is I've designed the code in such a way so that the servo is actually disabled after it activates. So, because one of the big problems I found with the Arduino servo code that's out there is a lot of the code, the servo will actually jitter if you leave it activated. So what I do is I activate the servo and then disable it, and that stopped the jitter. And I think it's because I disabled it. That's the reason why the servo reset. So then when the mouse went back in front of the beam, then the servo did actually trigger. And so as you can see, that's another mouse captured. And one thing I noticed about this mouse, it does seem very slow. Because I mean, when I see the speed of some of these other mice earlier on, they used to move at lightning. But this mouse just seems to be trundling around a bit. Okay, so the Mac PC Zone IR Sentinel strikes again, and as you can see, I decided to put some bait down, but admittedly I didn't really try too hard, because the thing about this particular trap is that it doesn't even matter what the bait is, just as long as it's something which is a bit like food. Because basically the mouse doesn't have to do any work. And so there you see the captured mouse. So what we're going to do now is just put it into its holding cell. One thing, this mouse is a lot quieter than the other ones. That's one thing I noticed for sure. And really doesn't seem too interested in trying too hard to get away, but we're gonna, because it's a bit late at night, I'm gonna put it in its holding cell, and then once the morning comes, then just release it. Okay, so I'll see you later. Okay, so here I'm just taking the mouse out. And as you can see, the previous ones that I took, I put them into the, actually taped them up in the trap. But there's a reason why I did this one in the back to the bin again. And it's because I had to leave it overnight. So all those other mice, they weren't in that sort of, flat trap overnight. Because I presume that mice get a little bit more stressed when the amount of space they have to maneuver in is less. So I thought, rather than have the mouse, something happen to it, since I know other mice that I've put in this bin overnight, they survived, so I thought it's better to do it for this one as well. And it seemed to survive alright. And in case anyone's interested, I actually recorded the whole night while it was actually in the bin. But I know some people get a bit bored watching things like that, but I'll see if that video still works, and put it out. Yeah, so anyway, I just stopped a bit there because I just wanted to zoom in, for whatever reason. And so yeah, so basically this is just carrying it out the next day, and what I'm doing is I'm just carrying it to the same old usual spot. I'm just walking near a cat as well. I'm going to be feeding this to any cats today. Okay, so here we are. Finally reached the exit point again. It's a bit wet today, so I have to be a bit careful how I walk. Actually, let me just turn the light on. Okay, so light's on now, so this is the mouse that I labeled KGB sleeper mouse, because this mouse definitely knows how to hide itself and be quiet. And sometimes I'd forget it's there, and then it would make the occasional sound, and I'd remember. So yeah, keep forgetting about that mouse, because it's like one of those KGB agents where they're just there and they're so quiet that you forget about them, but then they do the occasional mission, and it's when they do that, that's when you remember, oh yeah, that KGB agent, I forgot about him. And the same thing was happening with this mouse, because it was so quiet I kept forgetting it was there. But eventually the time had to come, so here we are again, back to the old classic path. It's time now. As you can see, the old KGB mouse is ready. Doesn't seem so eager now, so let's get him ready. Okay. He's making a mistake because he doesn't realise that the exit is this way. It's very hard to get these mice out. Yeah. So that's another mouse release. And I'd also like to acknowledge my God as being the one who's given me the skill to be able to configure and set up these traps so that they can be used successfully.